Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one and all. Welcome to Drawing Expressions live streaming here on YouTube. My name's Parz. I'm a creative writing guy. And yeah, welcome back or welcome here or hey, how you doing? Glad to have you here. Thank you so much for making this next little while part of your creative journey and allowing me to share with you and hopefully you to share with me. So let's just kind of get going as we make our way through this. So first off, before I start bringing up screens and things, what I'd like to do first is draw your attention to the screen that was playing, or the rotating screens that were playing before, which showed the background image, and then of course there was the message cards that sit on top. So Alicia has just released a video on how she drew that, and it's yeah, I mean, really, if you want to learn how to draw something amazing, cool, and like just super nifty, that is a place to go to, because it is one heck of a piece of work of art. I'm very, very glad and happy to have it be part of the whole live stream presentation. So if you want to learn how to do it, go to you can find it in the video search in YouTube, and if you want early access to it, join us on Patreon. And all of the links and things are also on the Linktree link, which I believe has just been put up by my lovely lady love Alicia, who is monitoring chat. So I see Celeste, you've already reached out and said hi. So hey, how you doing? For everyone else who's here, hey, how you doing? And if you are catching this on the replay, please chime in on chat. Let us know you're there, and we do check and respond to all chats. Okay, with that, let us get into the stuff. Okay, things to know. As always, with all of these live streams, really every single thing that we put out, the underlying message is it's all guidelines. We don't operate by rules here. Creativity gets stifled by rules, but it loves guidelines because it helps to kind of keep things in line. But you know, if it doesn't work for you, just ignore it or make something up that does work for you. That's good. The class structure. So to honor the planners and the pantsers, we have both types here. And so the planning section and the panther section, both, you're going to wrap around Moss Piglet. If you have been here before, you know that myself and Alicia both, we are now regular contributors to Moss Piglet. It is a monthly creative writing and arts magazine. And it's a fantastic publication, and it is now part of my monthly calendar of writing, and because of that, I bring that into these lives on a monthly basis, and today is the day for that next month. So we'll be doing planner and pantser both. Now the planner section is getting ready for the upcoming issue, and the upcoming submission for the upcoming issue, which is February. So it's the January submission for the February issue. I hope that one made sense, because I know the rest of them didn't. And we'll get into what that is in just a minute. And then Pantser will be looking back at submissions that I put in for a prior issue. Okay. With all of that, creative thinking, creative writing, creativity itself, it's a bit of a brain drain. It is a bit of a body, mind, body, spirit. It gets you going, it taxes your body, taxes your mind. So the best thing to do is to get us ready by breathing and stretching, which is why, yeah, the camera's reversed. And so I have to go that way. That's why we have breathe and stretch. Oh, and if you can see, I mentioned the art before. It doesn't show it really well here, but this is a piece of the piece I was referring to earlier, where it's got the very tree-like organic bits to it. So if you want to learn how to do that, again, go and check out Alicia's video. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to invite you to join me in my square breathing. We're going to inhale, hold, exhale, and hold, all for the same count of 5. So here we go. Taking a breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in. And a stretch. A little stretch. Get the body ready. Exhale. Awesome. Okay, I'm just going to bring us over to here. So one thing I'm going to mention before I get into the whole righty bit of this is that my cats are just enjoying the fact that it's a little bit cooler here today. Also, my schedule was off just a little bit because I slept in. And so the thing about cats, when you sort of mess with the schedule a little bit, is their schedule gets messed just a little bit. So they're still in the I want to run around and have fun phase. So if there's a cat that goes flying by, you'll understand why. And hopefully they won't hit anything too important as they go screaming across the keyboard. Quick thought. If you had an infinite number of keyboards and an infinite number of cats and an infinite number of time, would you inevitably get an AI written by them as they walked back and forth and released into the wild? Probably. Okay, because that's just the way it is. Mischief. All right. Let us go to the planner section of the live stream and let's get writing. So, let me see now here. Get things. There we go. And I'm just going to come on over here real quick, share my screen. So, as I said, this is a Moss Piglet live stream, or a Moss Piglet based live stream. The subject for February issue is nursery rhymes and wrongs. And the submission date for that is January 1st. So if you are someone who does these things last minute, don't do it last minute. Because, you know, as the apple drops or whatever drops in your part of the world, yeah, it's gonna be kind of quick. Okay. So I'm just going to scroll real quick. Here is the poster for the call for submissions. So it's the Feb 2025. There is the submission email, and then a little bit of an idea as to what we can expect for the material that we're going to be submitting in. You know, maybe a scene from a fairy tale or a myth or a nursery rhyme. Okay, so having done that, let's talk about, and I'll bring up a screen in just a minute. Let's just talk about where our minds go when we start talking about nursery rhymes and maybe more fun, nursery wrongs. I drew up a list of some ideas that we can work with. And let me just bring that up now, share screen. So yeah, so some ideas as we're going to be doing some writing together. Maybe tell a tale from a different point of view. So what does Jack B. Nimble's mother think of it? Jack B. Nimble's mother think of his wasting candles. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jump over the candlestick. Or maybe there are no candles. Maybe he's just practicing. These are dry runs. Who knows? You could put that into a rhyme. Write a new rhyme. Keep in mind that so we're talking specifically about nursery rhymes right now. They can make light of some extremely disturbing subjects. Ring around the rosy, for instance. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. And this is direct references to the Black Death back in the medieval ages, I believe. Anyways, millions of people died in Europe. And yeah, and so it's been turned into a neat little rhyme for kids. And then also expand your thoughts to fairy tales, fables, myths, legends, and more. So let's just come back to that. So I have been preparing some material for my submissions. I like to give a sample of a few different things, and then have the publisher choose which one he thinks is going to work best for that issue. And so I have one story that is about relating myself to an experience and sort of having like a parallel storyline of these two things. It's short, but I think it's effective. And so that's sort of like a personal fable. We have a story that is, again, this is a very like a fable type of thing, but it is, instead of taking the A-list actors and effects and whatnot, it's like what happens if it happens on a low budget and, you know, B-list people. So that's just a couple of ideas. So I thought maybe for here that working specifically with nursery rhyme type of subject matter could be fun. And discovered very quickly just how difficult it can be to write in the nursery rhyme form, because like haiku, it's taking something that's very big, or like these big ideas, and it's trying to stick it into very simple rhymes that you would expect a kid to sing, like nursery rhymes. And this is, you know, the nursery, where the kids grow up. And trying to make light of a subject. And so I was like, you know, how do we approach that? Well, so I gave one idea a thought. And so I'll just share my screen. And here we go. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. Okay, that one we know, that's a traditional. This one I added. If Jack be clumsy or Jack be slow, Jack will never grow to be old. Yeah. So we can take that. We can do a follow-on to one that's already there. Start to practice with the form. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to think about, think about where your mind goes when you think nursery rhymes and fairy tales and these types of things. Myths, legends, what have you. Do you go to funny? Do you go to dramatic? Do you go to educational? Where does your mind go? What are the things that you want to highlight inside of a nursery rhyme, fairy tale, that kind of thing? Make some notes. In a minute, I'll start writing a couple of ideas that I've got, and they are going to be more in the nursery rhyme realm, but there's no reason for you to be there. If you find it as difficult as I did when I first started getting into it, pick something else that's maybe a little bit easier format, a little bit longer form that is not so constraining. Okay, so a little bit of coffee, a little bit of note-taking on your part, and I'll just be here I'll be back in a second. Okay. Now, I know I don't give a lot of time when we're doing this, especially in live. Don't want a lot of dead air. If you're on replay, of course, you always have the option of hitting pause. Okay. So let us pick up where I was before and talk about nursery rhymes and writing them and what is it that we want to highlight. So I'm going to come over, share my screen. There we go. There's my blank page waiting to be filled. Okay. So what's an idea for writing a nursery rhyme, a modern day nursery rhyme? What do we want to bring forth? So one of the things that I thought is maybe we can take a look at the world and point out something and do it in a light, fun manner, but poke fun at the reality of what's going on in our everyday to day. Okay, so one of the things that I noticed is people are always people on phones, right? This is something that is constantly brought up about how people are addicted to their phone and they're walking around and it's just like all the their heads just trace to where the screen is. I remember ages ago, I mean, it was, oh boy, 30, 40 years ago, that I was watching a young couple walking around, and the boy, clearly the boy and the girl were on a date, and the boy is trying very hard to get the girl's attention, and the girl she's just laser focused on her phone, and he's just kind of like guiding her along to the next destination of what the date is going to entail, and she was paying him no mind whatsoever. And that it's only gotten worse. It hasn't really changed. So what if we were to write something that talked about people being on their phones to the exclusion of everything else? And I thought maybe we can try something like this. So I want to bring up the word, so screen, right? Screen is a good word, or phone is a good word. And we want to have some mention of their attention being on the screen, on the phone, and not being taken away. And they're just somehow unaware of surroundings. Okay. So these are some ideas to bring forth with this idea of the nursery rhyme. So what if we did something like this? Jean watches the screen. And the thing with nursery rhyme, Jack Sprat, you get these little internal rhymes in there that just kind of lightens things up. So Jean watches the screen. I like that. Jean watches the screen as he walks about. As he walks about. There, let's drop. It's going to force me into a capital A. Okay, fine. Sometimes WordPress Microsoft Word allows me to have the small letters in the front. Sometimes it forces me into caps. Okay, no matter. We'll catch it on edit later. So Jean watches the screen as he walks about. Go to town and break your crown. So here I'm stealing directly from Jack and Jill. Go to town and break your crown when you fall through the hole. All right, so you're not paying attention. Maybe it's a manhole, maybe it's something else. Jean watches the screen as he walks about. Go to town and break your crown when you fall through the hole. Oh, that doesn't rhyme well. Not rhyme, it just, the meter is all wrong. Jean watches the screen as he walks about. Go to town and break your crown when you fall, as you fall into the hole. Let's see, does that work? As you fall. Let's try that. As you fall through the hole. Jean watches the screen as he walks about. Go to town and break your crown as you fall through the hole. Crown, hole, about. No, actually, no. How did I have this working before? I had notes. Apparently not good ones. As he walks about. Go to town, break your crown. Actually, hole, and it should rhyme to about, shouldn't it? As he walks around. That's what it was, not about. As he walks around. as he walks around, as go to town and break your crown. I don't know. Oh, as you fall through the ground. Yeah. As a simple first line, so the rhyming works now. Meter kind of works. Gene watches the screen as he walks around. Go to town and break your crown as you fall through the ground. See, this is what I was talking about. These are difficult. Now, I was sort of working on this one last night, and it worked for a while. And this may be a good advertisement or a good reason to have morning pages, just to remember to write stuff down that you're dreaming about. Because if you're working on it and then you get up and you forget about it and then you note it later on, sometimes it doesn't work as well as you thought it did, like right now. Also helps to demonstrate that it is a little bit more difficult than you would give credence to, as you're trying to squeeze a concept into something that's small, light, rhymey. Walks around, break your crown, falling. Okay, here we go. Falling through the ground. That will. And it makes some sense. And that's another thing about the nursery rhymes too. Makes some sense. Oftentimes you have to know the backstory for it to be anything other than just like cute little words strung together. Like ring around the rosy, pockets full of posy. What does that mean? Well, if you know the medical stuff that shows up on the skin and whatnot, it is a very apt description. But if you didn't know that, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a catchy little thing. So, Gene watches the screen as he walks around. Go to town and break your crown, falling through the ground. So you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Okay, so this is one idea. And I had one more idea that I was sort of doing last night. And this one is climate change. As I said, sometimes we're putting heavy stuff into a nursery rhyme, right? Black Death. I mean, how much heavier can you get? Death. Lots of it. That's what the Ashes was all about, by the way, when they would burn the bodies in order to keep the infections from spreading. Okay, so climate change. So what do we want to have for climate change? So something like rising temperature. Rising temperature, floods, storms, all the good fun stuff that comes with climate change. Let me see now here. I've got my notes again. Let's see if I can maybe get something that works a little bit better first go around onto the screen. In city air, let's see now here. Nope, can't read my own writing. In city skies, temperatures rise. In city skies, temperatures rise, and people learn to swim. Because now we're referencing the floods, right? So we've got rising temperatures, we've got floods. Then this line, actually, this last line, that was like this third line was the one I was having most trouble with. So actually, I'm going to leave that one blank, and I'm just going to put in the fourth one. This is while the floods come rushing in. Okay, so swim and in, close enough to rhyme. Okay, in city skies, temperature rise, and people learn to swim. As the oceans, and I've got rise here again. I don't know I want to have rise, but okay, actually I'm going to put it in here right now, and then we'll fix it later on the edit. So as oceans rise and maybe as instead of storms arise and oceans. Okay, I'll put that in there. The storms arise and oceans rise while the floods come rushing in. let's maybe change while to and, just as a, make it a little bit smoother. In city skies, temperature rise and people learn to swim. As storms arise and oceans rise and the floods come rushing in. So it does need a bit of work because we have, in essence, rise 3 times, and that is not so good. But we do, I think this is a nice place to start, and you can, oh dear, we can work with this. So, sorry, getting in a phone call, probably from a grocery order that is due in just a little bit. So, we'll figure it out, but I'm not taking it right now. Okay. Let me see now here. So that is just sort of a couple of ideas for where nursery rhymes can go. Take something that's topical. Here, I'm bring it back to the room. Bring it to make something topical, current event. Make light of it. Make fun of it. Have a little bit of a rhyme, a little bit of a play, a little bit of fun. And see if you can't take something that is annoying, distracting, gloomy, and turn it into something that you can at least just, you know, have a little rhymey phrase type of thing. I'm not explaining that one well. Hopefully what I was doing, showing it on the screen, made more sense. Because right now, all right, I think with that, so Alicia said that she wrote about COVID-19. So yeah, there's a topic for you. Okay, the anyway, let's come over to the breathe and stretch, because apparently my brain needs a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of a breathe. So let's just do that. Let's all take a nice deep breath together. And stretch. Okay. Okay. So let us move on to prior submissions to Moss Piglet. So what we're going to be talking about, just flip over to my notes, remember which issue it was that I'm talking about for the prior submissions. Oh yes, this was the November Moss Piglet. So November Moss Piglet's been out now for about 6 weeks. It's gorgeous as always. The publisher does a fantastic job with making these things. I mean, and just having it in your hand, it's just a lovely thing. I've shown off the October issue last month, and we'll be showing off issues when they arrive. Because postage is so much, they will be getting bulk mailed early next year for a few months worth, and then I'll do a big flip through then. But just know the patterns issue for November, it's absolutely lovely. Alicia had 2 pieces accepted of this. She did a couple of pet portraits, and they're just lovely. And I had 1 piece that was accepted. I submitted 3, and I'm going to read all 3, and maybe we can have a discussion. Did he pick the right one? Just sort of on a poll amongst ourselves. I think he did, but let's just kind of go through. So with that, I do want to read these out loud to you. And the reason I'm going to read them out loud to you is the #1 way to enhance your writing skill is not actually practicing your writing. It's immersing yourself in other people's writing and then seeing what resonates with you, getting inspired by them, and then practicing. So practicing is #2, but the top one is immersing yourself in other people's stuff. And so I'm going to be immersing you in my stuff, my writing. So the 3 pieces that I sent in, there were 2 poems, and 1 was a narrative nonfiction. And I think I've talked about this before in a prior live, but I'm going to present all 3 right now. So the one that was accepted is the narrative nonfiction, In Search of an Einstein. And it goes like this. In the world of mathematics, there are a lot of unsolved questions. Most of them are quite complex to express, much less understand. For example, one of the most famous unsolved questions, the Riemann hypothesis, runs like this. The Riemann zeta function has its zeros only at the negative even integers and complex numbers with real part 1/2. True or false? To a non-mathematician, it sounds like pure gibberish. But there was one question that until November 2022 was unsolved but could be expressed in understandable terms. Here we go. I want to tile my bathroom, but I think squares and rectangles and all that are boring because it's the same pattern over and over again. I want a single shape. It can rotate or whatever, but not overlap other tiles and not have gaps filled in with grout or other makeshift bits. Because I don't want to have to buy multiple shapes and end up with leftovers. And I want the one shape to completely tile the wall with a pattern that never repeats no matter how big my wall is. Can I get something like that? So in mathematicians speak, what you're looking for is seamless aperiodic tiling. That is, tiling that creates a pattern which never repeats. And I do mean never. If you designed the bathroom wall to be the size of the Milky Way galaxy, the pattern would still never repeat. And this is side note, this is sort of like how pi works, right? The digits run forever, they never repeat. So this is the same thing, but in shape form. Okay. It was known that you could use 2 shapes to achieve the aperiodic look, and that was found in 1974 by physicist Roger Penrose. But it was an unanswered question as to whether you could manage it with a single shape. In fact, the shape was so elusive that it garnered its own name, the Einstein tile. Einstein not coming from the famous physicist, but instead from the German language Einstein, meaning one stone. Many mathematicians simply gave up and moved on, figuring the shape simply did not exist. But it's now known that the answer is yes, the Einstein tile does exist. And in fact, there's more than one. The first Einstein shape was discovered by David Smith, a retired printing technician and self-described shape hobbyist. After years of playing with shapes inside a piece of software, the Polyform Puzzle Solver, and then cutting shapes out of paper with promising candidates, he found one that looked likely. And despite what you might expect a shape like this to be, some sort of super fiddly, highly complicated, intricate shape requiring exacting manufacturing wizardry, it's a 13-sided shape composed of 8 kite shapes that come together, dubbed the hat, because it resembles a top hat. Smith contacted computer scientist Craig Kaplan, who, along with software developer Joseph Samuel Myers and mathematician Chaim Goodman Strauss, began proving the hat was an Einstein. During that process, they discovered that they could change the lengths of the sides and still create a seamless, infinite, aperiodic tile. This meant that Smith had found not just a single Einstein shape, but an entire class of shapes. And within that class is an infinite number of individual Einstein shapes. What does all this mean? Aside from the possibilities within material science, engineering, and countless other fields, the most important thing, or at least as it relates to the original question, is this. You and your neighbor can have uniquely tiled aperiodic bathroom tiling using Einstein shapes, even if the store only sells one shape of tile. And at the bottom of this were the references I used to put all this together. In narrative nonfiction, in order to have it gain credence, in order to give it proof, having references is one way to do that. And as a side note, if I wanted to, instead of having it be a narrative nonfiction that is true, but instead have it sound like narrative nonfiction, but be complete nonsense, I could make up references, and the more nonsensical, the better, in order to help project the fact that I'm making a joke. Okay, so that was the one that was accepted. The other 2 were these. So this first one is a poem, and it is called A Building of Sorts. In smokestack shadow by steel rail follow, sprawls an eyesore sight. A building of sorts, ramshackle and coarse, hidden from ready light. Inside lurks a bar, sclerosis scar, decrepit watering hole. Shrug off your cares or nurse your despairs along with other souls. Filled to the gills with people who will, every moonless night, enter the stage, drink, swill, and engage with enervating delight. Like a Broadway show, we all know where the cast slowly changes, but the action inside is fixed like the tide and never rearranges. The corner by the bathroom sty hosts the scripted drunk, slurs his words, spills his drink, smells hauntingly of skunk. He's known as Cal, our churlish pal, a character with multiple faces. They fill the role all grim and droll and come from many places. While waiting for another pour in its ever-flowing foam, Cal's wife arrives and begins to strive to get the drunkard home. The bar sets odds which favor the sod who never scores a win. The losers all buy and winners they vie for the closest glass of sin. In the corner booth, the patrons couth become a chattering crowd. Opinions unsound orated around become more shrilly loud. Watch the beginner become the winner and not be erudite. The best is considered the viewpoint delivered with volume's greatest might. And what's more, through the door on the stroke of one, no hair askew, so fresh and new, each incredibly so young, a brand new face so out of place, fresh talent for the scene, who may come back repeatedly more grayishly than green. There's more besides who come inside all throughout the night. They come to drink and dance and drink and sing and drink and fight. It's like they've ripped from published script directions for their role, played perfectly yet accolade-free, the only apparent goal. At time of close, they collect their woes and shuffle out the door. I reset the space, put all in its place so she's ready to host once more. I grumble and grouse and to myself overbearingly complain of dealing with stenches and miserable wretches and unbearable sticky stains. I could sell the dumps to some ignorant chump as part of a sweetheart deal, in spite of her look as an opium nook, present her as a steal. Or my back could turn and I could spurn as if she'd never existed, and ignore the allure to steadfastly endure that's perpetually persisted. And then I crack before the shack in all her rickety glory, remembering each night in better light the overarching story. Who else, I think, can serve the drink in only the way I can, and keep up her looks and update the books? Me, her loyal fan. The rise of the sun, another night done, the end of my duty day. I'll head to my bed and sleep like the dead until light has passed away. With those who are new and the veterans too who come to play here still, I'll play out my role, but there's one thing I know is I do so with free will. So, a couple of notes on this particular piece. So first off, there's pattern. There's pattern within the rhymes, right? You've got patterns within to the, each line has its rhyme end. There's also the internal lines within the verse. So let's see here. In smokestack shadow by steel rail fallow, right? So you've got the internal rhyme. Sprawls an eyesore sight. A building of sorts, ramshackle and coarse, internal rhyme. Hidden from ready light, and that rhymes to the line prior. So there is a lot of rhyming that's going on. So a lot of patterns here. Another thing that's sort of tucked inside all of this, and it's hard to catch unless you're sitting down and you're reading it. There's words, one word in particular, but I think there's a couple others where they sound like one thing, but they mean something else. So the word enervating. So enervating, it sort of sounds like energizing. And energizing means for your energy to, as you engage in something, for your energy to go up. When you enervate, you engage with something and your energy goes down, right? So it sounds like it goes up, but it goes down. So that hidden little thing, it sounds like one thing, it's really something else. It's something that I really like having inside my work. I like to play with words. I don't know, creative writer. Strange. Anyways, this piece that I just read is the longest piece it's taken me to write in a very, very, very long time. It took me about 2 weeks of just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. It just wouldn't let me go. So note to you, creative writers, if you've got a piece that is doing that, honor it and stay with it, and you will end up with a piece, I promise you, that you will be happy with if you work with the feeling of working with it and working with it. Okay, don't just abandon it. Yeah. Anyways, now let's go to the last of my submissions. This one came from, here we go. Okay, this one actually came from a prompt from when we were doing free expressions. And it was a picture, and it had sort of, to my eye, it looked like it was waves, like, you know, it was gray and stormy and whatnot. So that's what I based this piece on. And I think the prompt word that day was undulations, and so I actually used that as the title to this poem, Undulations. Gray steely clouds relent from lashing sea. Wind-blown spray coats with salty brine. Oceanic undulations tossed the sloop mercilessly. Warm streaming rays calm restless rhythms. Where a watery grave seems certain, it floats twixt watery depths and clearing skies. Ensconced, safely held deep within, she sleeps desperately, recovering. Gentle undulations the only movement. Limbs akimbo, exhaustedly thrown, unmoving. Where death had prowled the deck hungrily, the Sandman stands guard at her bedside. The rise and fall of looming walls of water, arrivals and departures of meteorologic events, tossings and turnings of hapless watercraft, all part of an undulating whole. Time's great wheel inexorably spinning, the half-drowned figure allowed to wake. So this one, no rhymes, right? Very much a piece that is just based on trying to evoke a feeling, and but without bringing in things like rhythm and rhymes and that kind of stuff. So it's much more focused on just the words themselves. There's no literary tricks, for lack of a better word to describe it. So these were the 3 pieces. What do you think? Which one was your fave? Now, I see that Alicia had said that the ramshackle, a building of sorts, was, she loved that piece. I don't know if that means that it was like her first place, but I will take it as first place. And I love that piece too. It's yeah, I like it. It's probably more of a Halloween spooky piece than anything else. So yeah, so those were the basic ideas that I wanted to get across today. So again, Moss Piglet submissions for the February issue. It is. So yes, a building of sorts, number 1 for Alicia. Can't argue with her. I like it too. I like all 3. I mean, let's just face it. I liked all 3, which is why I submitted all 3. But yeah. Okay. So Moss Piglet. So the February issue, Nursery Rhymes and Wrongs. The submission deadline is the first Wednesday of January, which is January 1st. And I hope I have given you some ideas as to if you wanted to participate, what you can do in order to come up with your own creative writing, and perhaps even submit it in and see if you can be put into the magazine, because it is just a fantastic experience of being inside a magazine. With that, let me move over to our Drawing Expressions Haiku. So creative space, holistically supportive. Please like, share, and subscribe. And please, please do. We depend upon your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions in order to keep going. Let us know that that we're doing a good job here. If you share on social media, that's the hashtag DXLive with Parz. Please go ahead and tag your writing with it. Or if you're doing art, tag your, if you're doing art based on the stuff that you're hearing today, or on any of my live streams, tag it with this. Let us know that you're out there, and then I can find it and comment on it. We also have email addresses and all sorts of other ways to get a hold of us in the Linktree, so that's also a nice way to go through and find us. With all of that, let me thank you again for being here, for being a part of this creative journey, for allowing me to be a part of your journey, allowing and having me be. Let's try that one again, because apparently the train derailed on the way to the station. Thank you for being part of my creative journey, and thank you for being part of my reciprocal thing. Okay, we'll just go with that. Apparently my tongue is getting tired. My brain is getting tired too. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat time, same DX time, same DX channel. Okay, until then, see you.